So I don't think you have the same relationship with people that people have with you, and I'm going to explain what I mean on this episode of Journey at Home. Thanks so much for connecting with us, by the way. We hope this content inspires you to follow Jesus, because following Jesus makes your life better and makes you better at life. That's been our experience. So if you think this is going to be helpful for more people to see, just hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so the YouTube algorithm is going to share this with more people. And then let's jump into episode 2 of our current series, The Weight of Your Words. So about a year ago, I was reading a book that introduced me to an idea I think may be one of the least acknowledged relationship principles in our culture. It's this: the relationship you have with others is rarely the same relationship they have with you. Now, that may sound a bit confusing at first, but let me give you some examples in just a minute, okay? The relationship you have with others, the way you see and experience the relationship with them, is rarely the same way they see and experience the relationship with you. For example, when you were a child, you did not have the same relationship with your parents that they had with you. And if you're now a parent with kids still at home, your child doesn't have the same relationship with you that you have with them. See, they have a relationship with an adult. You have a relationship with a child. Those are not equal relationships. You are not dependent on them. They are dependent on you. You have an unequal amount of power in the relationship. So here's another example. An older brother and sister and a younger brother and sister do not experience a relationship the same way. Depending on which person you are, you feel and you experience a relationship differently. Same's true at work. The boss and the employee experience their relationship with one another very differently, don't they? The coach and the player, they experience their relationship differently. Why? Because there is an inequality there that makes the nature of the relationship different for each person. Now, just to be clear, everyone has equal value, but there is unequal power, influence, and authority in certain relationships. That's why the relationship you have with them is rarely the same relationship they have with you. And that is not a problem to solve, but it does mean it should be a consideration in all of our communication. It should influence the words that we choose and the tone that we use. But we rarely take those differences into consideration when we communicate. So in this series, we're discovering 3 dynamics that are at play every time you communicate with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your employees. Because when it comes to the people closest to you, your words carry as much weight as your actions. They are powerful. In certain relationships, your words can give people courage or they can crush them. And we've all experienced both sides of that, right? You know what it feels like to hear someone you love say things like, "I am so proud of you." You also know what it feels like for them to say, "You embarrassed me tonight. I wouldn't miss it for the world. You're not needed here anymore." Words can build up or tear down, can't they? Those are all emotional words. They cause you to see yourself differently. Words like that can change the direction of your life for good or for bad. They can build up your confidence. They can crush it. But while we're all quick to acknowledge the impact other people's words have had on us, we are slow sometimes to take responsibility for the impact our words have on others. That's why we're talking about these 3 dynamics that are at play in every conversation you have with people that you care about. So in the first episode, we looked at dynamic number 1. Words are not equally weighted. Specifically, negative words weigh more than positive words. The ratio is not fair, but it's real because words aren't weighted equally. But there is a second dynamic at play because whether it's a compliment or constructive criticism, how we say what we say matters. Here's how the Apostle Paul introduced the idea in his letter to the Ephesians. He said, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what's helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." Everything we say should be approached not from how I want to say it, but from how can I say it that will most benefit you. That is the filter that determines what words we select, because how we say it matters just as much as what we say. Now, I want to explore the second dynamic in communication, which is this: source determines weight. In other words, the weight of a word is determined by who said it. For instance, moms, think about this. If you're out with your girlfriends eating lunch and they say to you, "Oh my gosh, that outfit looks amazing on you. You look so young." Well, that's nice, right? It probably weighs about 5 pounds. You really appreciate it. But if you come home from that lunch and your 15-year-old daughter walks in the kitchen and goes, "Mom, wow, you look stunning. You look so young we could be sisters." What do? You're like, honey, let me take you shopping. Right? Come on, whatever you want. Because, wow, those words weigh about 50 pounds coming from her. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Matt, could you give me an example that might actually happen? Because the one you just gave is a fantasy. It'd be a miracle just short of the resurrection for my 15-year-old daughter to say that. I know. But you get the point. What is the difference in the impact that words have on you? Well, the difference is who says it. Source determines weight, and weight determines impact, and impact determines outcome. This is true when you say something critical or negative, and it's true when you say something positive and encouraging. So parents, I hope you understand the impact of this principle. When you walk into your child's room to deliver some not so good news for them because they have created consequences for themselves, you see somebody who knows better and who needs to do better. But who do they see? They see the person whose approval they want more than anything else in the world. You have a relationship, but it is not the same relationship. Now, let me flip it. And if you're in middle school, high school, you're a college student, you're 20-something, think about this. When it comes to your parents, your words weigh more than you'll ever understand. And you know what else? When it comes to your younger brother or your younger sister, your words weigh more than you can possibly imagine. In fact, the reason that parents get onto you all the time and say, be nice to your younger brother, be kind to your sister, is because they understand the power of your words more than you do. It's not your fault because it's hard to see. So that's why I'm letting you know. And I get it. Your younger brother or sister is so annoying at times. It's like, why are they even in the room, right? But the reason they hover, the reason they're always hanging around, the reason they're trying to get your attention is because you play a unique role in their life. And you will either use this time to do something amazing in the lives of your younger brothers and sisters. You'll either encourage them and build them up and give them confidence, or you're going to miss the opportunity. So I want to challenge you to be the unique older sibling who makes the most of that opportunity with your family. Now, for all of us, who we are should determine how we say what we say. Who we are to them should determine the words we choose, because our words don't all weigh the same. How they view you determines how much weight your words have. And the more inequality there is in the relationship, the weightier your words become. So you have a responsibility to care about the other person enough to recognize how much weight your words carry. Now, if you're not a follower of Jesus, that's still good advice, right? But if you are a follower of Jesus, it's imperative to do this. We have a responsibility as Jesus followers to get this right. And Paul tells us why in Ephesians 5. He goes on to write, follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us. See, Paul's referencing here the one command Jesus gave all of his followers, that we should love one another like he loves us. And what did he do for us and how he communicated to us? Jesus recognized the inequity that existed between us and him. So he came down and he met us where we are. And he communicated over and over again how much he valued us. And then he died and rose again to prove it was true. See, Jesus possessed unequal power, influence, and authority, but he used it for our benefit. He used it to build us up rather than tear us down. He used it to encourage us rather than discourage us. He used it to forgive rather than condemn. He used it to deepen our relationship with him, not weaken it. So as followers of Jesus, we have a responsibility to get this right because we have a responsibility to walk in the way of love that Jesus modeled for us. We got to remember that not only who we are, but who we represent should determine how we say what we say. See, you're more than just an employer. You're more than just an employee. You're more than just a student. You're more than just a teammate. You're more than just a coach. You're more than just a neighbor or an older brother or sister. You're more than just a mom or a dad. If you are a follower of Jesus, you represent Jesus. You're his ambassador to all the people you are in a relationship with. So we have a responsibility to communicate to others with the same love and care that Jesus chose to communicate with us. And if we don't, well, here's how Paul described it in 1 Corinthians 13. He said, if I speak in the tongue of men or of angels, which was his way of saying, if I can communicate in a way that's so powerful, it's so eloquent, if I have perfect theology and I can correct you every time you get something wrong, and if I know the Bible so well, I got to memorize in English, Hebrew, and Greek, if I got it all figured out. But Paul wrote, but I do not have love. If I don't realize that source determines weight, and I just tell you what I want you to know, the way I want you to know it, and I don't care if it builds you up or benefits you. Paul says, do you know what my words are like? He writes, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. Apparently, Paul has spent some time in 6th grade band class, because he says if love isn't driving your words, everything you say is abrasive and annoying. Nobody wants to listen to you. It doesn't matter how right you are. Listen, Paul wants us to know, when we Christians don't get this right, we are making a big mess of things. When we don't get it right, we misrepresent our Savior, our leader, our King. Can we be honest for a moment? The collective church in America, we've not gotten this right very often in the last 30, 40 years. A lot of us haven't gotten this right in the last 40 days. We made a mess of things because of it. So this week, will you consider what you represent to the person you're talking to? And would you remember who you represent as you're talking? And will you choose the way of love with your words? Who we are and who we represent should determine how we say what we say, because all words don't weigh the same. Source determines weight. Weight determines impact. And impact determines outcome. So speak in the way of love.